Michael. Michael, where'd you grow up? Where are you from originally?
Originally, if you want the truth, I'm from the Hollywood Hills.
Oh, you are.
Yeah, I was born in the Hollywood Hills, but that doesn't keep me from ending up on Skid Row. Um, if you want my story about how I ended up here,
Yeah. Tell me about how you grew up first.
I grew up well. I had both parents in the house. My dad worked a lot. My mom was the primary caretaker, and there was a maid who also took care of me. So I think I felt a little bit neglected, but my dad made up for it in vacations and a lot of,
But your parents were together,
yeah, yeah.
but dad was working a lot.
Dad worked a lot,
Yeah.
and my mom, for a while, was at home, and she would take care of me when I was a little kid. But as I grew up and went to school, she started to work with my dad. Had a family business that I thought I was going to go into, but that didn't end up happening.
But no,
And
no crazy abuse or anything like that.
no, that's the thing. There was no abuse, yet there were drugs in the house.
Oh,
There were pain pills in the closets, and from a very young age, I started getting migraines. And I remember it clearly. I was on a Big Bear trip with my dad, and I had a migraine, and we were in the middle of nowhere. And he pulls out a little pill from his pocket, says, "This will get rid of it." And I was really young, but I remember how it made me feel. And I remember what the pill looked like. And I found that same pill in a bottle in the closet. And I started taking those because I like the way they make me feel. And as a kid, I was really shy, socially awkward, and I didn't know how to relate with other people. And so when I took these pills, I could just let all that go, and I felt great.
it's interesting.
Yeah.
And where did that lead?
Well, through high school, it didn't really cause any problems, but as I went to college, I got good grades, but I started having severe depression when I went into college, and like I couldn't go to class, I couldn't do my work, and I remembered these pills, and so I started taking them every day and stealing them from my dad. I'd go home and then bring a bunch of Percocets back to the dorms and keep on taking them. And then I realized I had to take more to feel the way I needed to progress and to pull a 3.1 GPA, which for some people was great and for some it's terrible. But for me, I was getting by and my parents were happy. And I hadn't told them about this abuse, but I started, because of these pills, I started experimenting with other types of drugs, ecstasy and methamphetamine. And I liked the ups, and I liked the downers. So I realized I liked pills. And eventually my dad caught on. He noticed that his whole prescription was missing, and he's yelling at me about it. And I broke down and told him, "Look, yeah, I have been taking your pills. I'm sorry. I'm not going to do it again." And he excused it. And then it happened again. I started stealing the pills again and realized that when I didn't take them, I felt sick. And so my parents sent me to sober living, which did not work out. I ended up relapsing in there, and basically I heard of a friend that I used to hang out with that he had something called black tar heroin that was cheaper than pills. And so I went to his house on purpose, knowing that he had this drug, and he was smoking it, and he offered me a hit, and that was it. No more pills for me. It was way cheaper, and I could just call him up anytime. And so that happened, and smoking it wasn't getting me to where I wanted. And there's one day when I met a connect of his who would shoot it up with cocaine. And he didn't have any flow to smoke it on, but he had a needle, and I was sick. And he had a needle of cocaine and heroin, and he injected me with this, and my life was never the same after that. I was chasing this high, and what I had to do to get money first, it was, I hate to admit this, stealing from my own family, and then it was, going into stores and stealing things, panhandling, and my family was not happy about this. I dropped out of college. My parents let me home 100 times, but then they said, "No, we've had it. We know what you're doing. We don't like it. You're not welcome on our doorstep. Don't come knocking. We'll call the police." And I did come knocking, and they did call the police. And so I started catching minor cases. Never did too much time, but to support my habit I had to steal or panhandle. I did end up going to jail, and so that put me on the record. Now the cops know me, and I'm a homeless person in the San Fernando Valley, panhandling and hustling all day, every day for just one thing, and that was dope. And it was a hard life. I didn't see any foreseeable future because I was supposed to take over my dad's business, and that was down the drain. And so I had no real work experience, so I didn't know what to do with myself. And so I just thought, okay, I'm just going to continue using, but I didn't want to be homeless. So many times, I promised my parents, send me to treatment, help me out, and I'll stop forever. And I'd go into treatment for a week, start feeling sick, and leave. And I did this at least 100 times. At least 100 times I'd go in and out of places. And so, my parents took me off of their insurance, and so I didn't have Blue Cross. I had Medi-Cal. So now I couldn't get into real treatment centers, nice, like decent places. It was places down here downtown, like Midnight Mission, and they didn't give you detox meds. And so I just struggled, and the parents wouldn't let me home. And it's just an ongoing circle. It's a cycle.
Where are you staying today?
Today I have an SRO.
You do?
Yeah.
So you're not in a tent or anything like that?
Not anymore.
Yeah.
I had to fight long and hard for that. I was on the street when someone approached me and said, "You can go to this place," which is called Homeless Healthcare. And they said, "Just do what they tell you and you'll end up with housing." So
That's going to be a lot better, right?
Yeah, it's a lot better. It's harm reduction. I'm still struggling, and I still go hungry sometimes, but my rent's $50, and you can't beat that. And that definitely helps with, I don't use as hard anymore because of that. It's a good thing. I think they're doing a really good thing, and I think they should definitely keep on doing that to house more people.
And you're still using what today?
I struggle with fentanyl, cocaine, methamphetamine, and I'm on methadone, which helps. That's also harm reduction, but I plan to stop all of that stuff. If I can get off the methadone, then it gives me a better chance to get off everything else, because it's a bad influence. When I go to any clinic, everyone out there is getting high. I plan, that day not to get high, and then someone pulls out a meth pipe and, says, "You want to hit?" And there I go again. And so it's bad influences around me, but it's also in my own mind. Like, am I ready to get off the stuff? Because I struggle with extreme depression and anxiety, and I feel like I need that stuff to cope. And like, what about getting a normal job and just doing 9 to 5 and getting an apartment elsewhere, like I dreamed of? Mm-hmm. I would love to do that, and I do plan on getting off. How? I guess one day at a time, slowly. I'd like to go back to AA or NA. And the pandemic kind of screwed with that. Meetings were stopped, and I didn't always have a phone to go online and do Zoom meetings. But I'd like to get a sponsor and start fresh, start new, and just do the right thing, and just make my social circle extremely small. About 2 or 3 people that I know have my back and who are sober. Like my ex-girlfriend, she's doing it, so I mean, why can't I? So if I have just a few people in my social circle, then I can start going to meetings again, and just doing the right thing.
What have you learned from all of this? How old are you?
I'm 34.
34. What have you learned from all this stuff that you've gone through?
Basically, that what my parents told me was right, and that it's a dog-eat-dog world, and no one's going to take care of me except me. That I have to work for what I want and for what I need, and whichever way I choose to go, the good or the bad, I have to do it myself. No one's going to give me a handout and say, here's a job because out of pity. No, or here's money out of pity. That only works for so long. And what I've learned is that I have to just pull myself up on my bootstraps, and if I want to do something, I just got to do it, and commit to it, and do it. Like we were talking about working out. If I want to have a six-pack, I got to do sit-ups every day and have a good diet and do a lot of cardio. But if I don't, then I won't do that. I won't do those things. So I got to put in the footwork to actually get to where I want to be.
All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Yeah.
And I wish you the best of luck out there.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
How'd I do?
That's great.
Yeah.